My name is Malebo Sephodi, and I am a writer and an activist, and I have research interests in issues of gender, Africa's development discourse, not necessarily the development of Africa, but how the development of Africa is written about. I'm also interested in the hierarchy of science, where they put certain disciplines over another. That's my scholarly interest. I'm also very interested in working with communities, in trying to figure out and navigate ourselves throughout life with these socioeconomic issues. And I think that ties in with the book that I've written, which is titled Misbehave. So this book is somewhat of experimental writing, but because I don't have a name for it yet, I'll call it a memoir. So it basically details a journey that I've had with myself as a black woman in South Africa living in this body, and the observations that I have come to see with myself and the environment around me. I use theories such as feminism and constructivism, and maybe I'll break that down as we go on with this interview, just locating theory into my experiences so that people can see what feminism looks like, so that people can see what difficult concepts look like when you locate them within experiences. And basically it's just a journey that I detail about my life, and I'm hoping that it could be a conversation starter around many things that we grapple with as black women in society. When I wrote this book, I had a certain target, in mind, and it was the black woman who is at a place of questioning, who is at a place of grappling with a lot of things. And I think the beginning of the journey, my journey that I detail in this book, is that black woman who started to question things, who was grappling with things, and I detail how I've come to locate myself and try and find my autonomy in South Africa. I did not really write it for people who are versed in academia or feminism. I didn't write it for men, although there is value in those people reading it. I literally wrote it for the non-reader, for example, and the black woman who's grappling with these issues. And that was my target market, and it's very evident in the way I wrote the book. I used to say patriarchy, and it goes back to the language and the exclusion of language. For example, there's a lot of things that maybe a lot of people can't articulate, but they are there, So I'll go back to feminism, for example, because that's an ideology that I root a lot of my experiences in, where a lot of people say, well, feminism is un-African, or they'll say, well, feminism is complicated. And what I wanted to do with the book, so if you read the book, I don't even mention the word feminism until the last chapter. So I wanted to show what it looks like for me, the ideology that I subscribe to, what it looks like without using the words feminism, what it looks like in experience, and so it goes back to that whole language thing. So if you don't have the range to say patriarchy, if my great-grandmother would ask me, what does this patriarchy mean in Setswana, or what does this heterosexuality mean in Setswana, I may not have that range to give her a single word to explain, but I think if I use an experience, it's easy to locate it. And so far with the response that I've received, because I've been fortunate enough or privileged enough to sit with some book clubs, and sit in on the conversation. So far, I do feel that the book is landing in the hands of the black women that I was thinking about. It's also surprised me because it's landed in the hands of black men and white women and white men, and they've also come back and given me feedback that I was quite like, okay, I wasn't thinking about you and I was writing, and I'm glad you're finding value in the book. I run a space called Lady Leader, and it's a very spiritual space, because that space and it's evolved, that space is a space where I say that we can be who we want to be without having to live up to the pressure of the world, without having to slay, without having to be excellent, without having to be black girl magic, with just being who we are, coming as we are. And we have what we call challenges. every season. So as a new season enters, we have what we call a 21-day challenge, where we are active about what's the kind of food that we're eating, because understanding that there's certain foods that has the way that that impacts our health. What kind of spaces do we find ourselves in? What kind of things do we consume? For example, we will not stimulate our spirit and our emotions through drinking stimulants like coffee, being on social media, because it can be a stimulant. So I'm just making that example to say practically we are all grappling to understand what this healing looks like. But from the efforts that I've made, it's with Lady Leader and these challenges that we take, and we have these challenges seasonally because we understand that it's not a once-off process, and healing is something that I grapple with. And if you read in the book, especially chapter 3, Dear Black Man, you realize that there was a certain idea I had of what healing should be like. And it's important, the whole conversation and the generating of knowledge around healing itself is very important, because it allows us to go through the process that it needs us to go through. Because I don't think I would be where I am at the moment had I not gone through the conversations and this knowledge production that's there. So it's important for us to know that the knowledge production and the conversation is not mutually exclusive from the action itself. So I do know that we in desperate need of healing, and healing can be an act of resistance, because if you think of oppression kind of expects us to be downtrodden. It expects us to believe that we are nothing, we are the other, and we shouldn't heal. We should be in constant state of pain. When you actively seek out healing, you are going against what the oppressor set out for you. When you are happy, when you decide to take care of yourself, you're actually saying, this is not expected of me as a oppressed body, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the important question that we have to ask is what this anyway is. And we know how violent society is to our lives every single day. So I don't think there is one moment or one experience of healing, but I think that there are different steps that we need to take that are conscious. We are conscious about these steps that will lead us to healing. I'm talking about Matsilo's retreat, healing retreats, because it is an important journey that one takes. And it's not like when you come back from it, you are totally healed, but it's refreshing, it's energized you, it started something in you so that you can find other ways for you to engage in healing method. And I do understand that healing can also be exclusionary, and in a sense that I might afford to take time off. But there's a woman who's holding down 3 jobs, who has 6 children, who's married to an abuser, and then so this is a conversation that we need to have as well on how exclusionary these healing methods that we have are, and most of them do need some resources. To call women together to take them to a retreat. The retreat itself might not be costly, but needing the resources to take them to the retreat is costly. So also this healing becomes exclusionary as well. And how then do we make sure that we get the message to every single woman and how they can grapple with their own healing? And I think this is why it was important for me to write the self-care chapter, in trying to talk to every woman who picks up this book, to start thinking about how they can start thinking about their own self-care. And in the suggestions that I make, I think I was very careful and cautious not to make them from a very privileged place. To say, let's go for a spa, let's go paint our nails, something like let's consume art, something like let's build a veggie patch, let's go back to the earth, something like let's read Black women, and I was just sharing what are my methods of healing, and maybe you can, through my methods, find your own methods.